Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Storytime with Stephanie. I am your host, Stephanie Outen, and I thank you for being with us tonight. As always, we have another amazing show for you. Storytime with Stephanie is a segment of the Writer's Anointing podcast where we offer tips, tricks, and tools to help you unleash your writer's anointing. And with Storytime with Stephanie, it's our platform that allows for new and existing authors to be able to share their powerful stories of transformation and also share what it is that they have going on in their lives so that you can find a way to support them and truly just breathe life into them. And so tonight we have a special guest with us. His name is Terrance Bell. Terrance Bell is a Texas native and successful serial entrepreneur, a civil engineer, gospel recording artist, producer, songwriter, author, and his latest venture, the owner of a mobile veterinarian clinic service, birthed from a deep childhood passion for pets and animals. He has also formed and operated successful engineering, construction, residential building, and financial companies. In June, he simultaneously introduced his three passions to the world. So this man has been very busy. His book, which we'll be talking about tonight, Flawed but Unbroken, The Regenerate Soul of a Man, his fourth music recording called My Story, and his mobile veterinarian clinic, GeoVet Animal Care. He wrote Flawed but Unbroken to share some of his life's experiences with all young men, but especially young men who've grown up in poverty, facing various difficulties in life while maintaining a strong spiritual relationship with God. Bell's work ethic is over the top, and all reasons point to his childhood. Some may consider it unfortunate, but he sees it as a blessing. He says that growing up poor, his mom couldn't afford much. So he knew if he wanted the finer things in life, and if he wanted to give his two children a better experience than his own childhood, he had to work hard. With his success and concern for the less fortunate, he makes time to give back. His resume for giving back to communities embodies the most prominent philanthropist, which has garnered him recognition as high as the congressional office. So we are excited to have Terrance Bell with us tonight to discuss his book, Flawed but Unbroken, The Regenerate Soul of a Man. Terrance, are you with us?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I love that introduction. I loved it.
Well, thank you. We are so glad to have you with us tonight.
Oh,
So,
thank you. I'm glad to be here.
excellent, excellent. So I shared with the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do. Tell us a little bit more about the man that you are today, who God has created you to be. And then we're going to talk more about your book, Flawed but Unbroken.
God, oh man, as I live it every day. I who I am today is new hope, not who I was. Who I am today is the child I was when I was born.
Hmm. Wow. Okay, that's already powerful. So let's break that down.
And so what I think about is when I was a kid, I just remember being a kid, uh, happy, seeming I didn't know any worries.
Hmm.
I didn't have any worries. I didn't know life
Right.
was what it is. I had my parents. My father was still living. My grandparents were a big part of my life. I've
Mhm.
recently spoken to people and told them stories about my great grandparents and how they were instrumental in my early development as a child. My grandfather, my great grandfather, was born in the 1800s,
Okay.
and how my great grandparents used to teach me things such as gardening, hanging clothes on a clothesline, washing clothes in a tub on a board, uh,
Hmm.
cutting grass with a lawnmower. I was 7 years old, cutting grass, starting up a lawnmower. It wasn't a, it didn't have any gadgets. It was just a crank and
Yeah.
push. Great grandfather and my great grandmother put that in me. Cooking, I would be in the
Mhm.
house with my great grandmother while she was cooking and run outside and
Mhm.
do stuff outside with my great grandfather, who was a carpenter, by the way, but had me doing various chores around the house. And so that but at that childhood is what I still love to this day.
Mm,
Me being a the kid I was, and uh, in between, you
mhm,
know, my father at an early age, my mother was, you know, a mother. I was raised by my grandparents. My mother was, she was there, but she wasn't there. You know?
mhm,
And there were difficulties with my mother's relationship and mine, mainly because of the influence, you know, that was
mhm,
on my mother's life at that particular time. And so, you know, when I think about it, you know, the man I am today, I've returned to that place, that feeling,
mhm,
being joyful, being happy. My great grandparents or my dad, you know, has been replaced with my son. You
mhm.
know, my, you know, relationships, my daughter, me and my daughter has such a special relationship. You know, even more so today. She's just turned 18 a couple of
Mhm.
weeks ago, so I had to give her age. She's a senior in high school, and so we have come. It's like our bond is growing so much
Mhm,
stronger than what it's always been,
mhm.
and so those relationships with my kids have made me feel youthful again, and
Good.
they brought out the best in me. And now that I can understand life,
Mhm,
which I didn't understand as a kid, it makes it even better because you know, I've always told people I know my purpose in life, my
mhm.
destiny, but now it's in me and I live it to the fullest. So that's who I am today.
Excellent, excellent. And so you were able to, even though you walked through so many different things, from childhood to adulthood, you were able to look back on, here is how I was before all of the traumas and the challenges and the poverty that I walked through. And
Yeah,
now God has given me an opportunity to reflect on that and
yeah,
live in that space, right, of happiness and joy and peace that you had, when you first came into this world. And so, as I mentioned, the traumas and the challenges and the poverty that you walk through. Tell us a little bit about that childhood, your upbringing with your mom, and how you transitioned from living with your mother to then transitioning over to living with your grandparents, where you truly understood how to learn how to love from your
yeah,
grandparents.
yeah. Living with my mom, it was when I was a child. My mother, it was three of us in a probably a 750 square foot 2 bedroom apartment. I have a little brother that's 4 years younger than me and an older sister that's 2 years younger than me. Me and my little brother shared a twin bed. My sister was in the same room in her bed alone. And I was the middle child of my mother's. And it was, you know, I always felt like it was days that things that went on that, such as not having, not food, you know, simple things like that, not being able to take a bath. And some days we didn't have water. We had to go outside, or my great grandparents stayed across the street. We went over across the street, filled up pots or uh, buckets of water, come back across the street. We would have maybe gas, so we heated up the water on the stove, poured it in to have a warm bath. Those particular things, because my mother at that time didn't have, you know, a steady income.
Mhm,
Uh, you know, three kids and uh, a mother that seemingly, you know, you know, as a kid, you don't see what all went on. Some
mhm,
things I don't get all into because of the, you know, relationship now me and my mother have. Uh, you know, I don't. It's but it was a rough childhood. You know,
yeah.
going to, you know, living in the a poverty stricken area, you know, dealing with things. I can tell you a story. One of the things we had to deal with my sister. I was probably maybe age 9,
Mhm,
and my little brother was 5, My sister was 11, 12, somewhere around in there. And I was asleep in the living room on the couch, and someone on a stormy night, someone broke into my mom's, into the apartment. It's a duplex apartment that we lived in. Someone broke in through the back door, had my sister. I slept through it all. Had my sister, took my sister out the house, jumped over a fence in the backyard to take my sister, trying to kidnap her. And it was thundering and lightning. Lightning struck the man. My sister jumped back over the fence because he had her across the fence.
Jesus.
Jumped over the fence, ran across the street to my great grandparents. They came in, woke me up. My little brother saw it all. He saw it all.
Wow.
Came in and woke me up because the man never touched me, never woke me up, and I slept through it all. I don't even understand how they woke me up. And my great grandmother, my great aunt and my great grandmother were there with my great grandfather and my great aunt's husband. Everybody had paper bags. I don't understand. The two women had paper bags with guns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My grandmother had a paper bag with a gun, and my great aunt, her daughter, who was and my uncle was a pastor of a church, the church that we grew up in. Paper bags with guns in it. And I'm like, why? My thing, why you just had that gun out? Why you got it in the paper bag? So they came in, woke me up, and I found out what happened. But those were the conditions we lived in. And it was, but I got out of that lifestyle because of a disagreement at 11 years old. Me and my mom have, and I was like, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing with the mistreatment. I'm not dealing with, the at that particular time, the abuse. I wasn't. I'm done. I can't do this because I'm gonna, not really knowing at that time, but I'm like, I wasn't built for that. My temperament wasn't for that to have. And so I called my grandmother. She lived in Texas City. I was in Houston. Texas City is a city outside of Texas, about 30, 45 minutes away from Houston, about 45 minutes away from where we lived in Houston. My grandmother, told my mom, I'm coming to get him. He's coming to stay with me. She came and got me. I went on to live with her. And it was such a total, it was 180. My grandmother and my grandfather, professionals. My grandfather was a county commissioner. My grandmother was a high school counselor with a master's degree. And what they instilled in me, I just told somebody this the other day. I never woke up, not one morning, school days, Saturdays, Sundays, without breakfast. And I'm talking, my grandfather cooked breakfast every morning. He had something cooked every morning. My grandmother we would have home cooked meals probably every other day, but every morning that was breakfast. Every morning I went to school, that wasn't breakfast. That was, and that's how they were. And the love and respect that they had for each other. I never saw them curse each other out, use profanity around each other, talk to each other with disrespect. And those are my maternal grandparents. My paternal grandparents lived right 2 blocks away.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2 blocks away. And same thing. I never saw my grandparents argue. I have one living grandmother to this today, and that's my paternal grandmother, my dad's mother. I never saw her and my grandfather argue all my life. Never. I never saw my grandfather disrespect my grandmother. Never cursed her out. She never cursed him out. And she was, my grandfather didn't graduate. My paternal grandfather never graduated high school. Grandmother had a master's degree, was a nurse manager of a psychiatric ward. So though the love that they gave to each other, I saw it, and it was a different lifestyle for me. Man, this is different. But I knew that because I used to go visit my grandparents in the summertime. There was always, every summer we stayed with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And so I knew what life was like, but I became really, they raised me, both sets of my grandparents raised me. My dad, when I moved in with my grandparent, I was 11 years old. The very next year I moved, my dad coincidentally stayed about 4 or 5 blocks away from my grandmother.
Okay.
So when we started getting close, I'm literally, I can remember, I remember fishing trips. I remember doing things to him buying me a telescope that to this day, I can't find it. And it just hurts me. I can't find it. But we went fishing. We did all kind of things. And my dad died when I was 12 on a fishing trip.
Oh, okay.
That I was supposed to be on. He asked me, I was all prepared to go. I was supposed to go with him, And at the last minute, I just decided, Dad, I'm not going for whatever day, for whatever reason. And the last time I saw my dad was 2016 on Valentine's Day, 2016 at my grandmother. And, that was right before he went on that trip. And about a week later, a week or two later, week and a half later, my grandmother told me my dad was missing. They couldn't find him. They searched for him. They finally found his body washed up on the Galveston shore in Galveston, Texas, and changed my life completely. I became at that particular time angry, teenager angry. I was having issues with my mom. She was now on drugs because she wasn't on drugs. Lived with her. But now at that particular, she started from 12 to probably in my 20s. My mother was on drugs heavily. And
so let me ask you this really quick, Terrance, and I don't mean to cut you off, but with your father and you developing a stronger bond with him from the time that you moved in with your grandparents up until he passed away, what was your relationship with him like prior to that when you were living with your mom? Did you not have a relationship with him at all?
I'm gonna say this, and my mother knows. I speak freely because it's a situation that I strongly dislike, and my mother understands this to this day. We've had a conversation about my book, but it was not a good relationship. With my mother and my father, I didn't have a close relationship because my mother kept my father away from me.
Okay.
And for whatever reasons, and so with my kids, I one thing I stress is like, don't keep my kids away from me.
Right.
I have sisters that have kids. And I tell them, I've always told them, don't keep them away from, if you're not with their father, just because y'all not together, don't keep them away. I just despise that,
right.
Because sooner or later, the kid is going to grow up and you don't want to be on that side of that fence.
Right.
They're going to resent you and they're going to have problems. I had problems with my mom because I think because of my relationship with her father, that's why she treated me the way she treated me.
Okay.
And, it's different now. We have a very stronger relationship today. I'm a man. I'm just like, I had to grow up. I had to get over that. I had to forgive her and say, hey, Mom, look, we've had conversations. And she understands where I'm at today. She understands how I feel about him today. But yeah, when I didn't have I wanted it.
Yeah.
That relationship with my father, but I didn't have it. And it was because of that. And
right.
that was the reason why. But but when I got close to him, we had less than a year to really become close, and then boom,
right.
he was gone. So that's why I can say in my teenage years to my young adult years, I was angry. I was angry man. I was an angry young man, and I still went to college. Grandparents. I wasn't angry at women, and the thing that kept me respecting women, and I can speak freely about this. Talk about my book somewhat. Is because of the love that my grandmothers gave me. They showed me a different. If it wasn't for my grandmothers, I would have been completely lost.
Absolutely.
And although I sit here, but I struggled with it for a long time. I struggled with, And even when I meet throughout my life, when I've dated women, and they ask me, why am I like that? Why am I such a certain way? I'm like, it's because of my grandmothers. My grandmothers taught me, you don't take this, you don't deal with this, you don't do that. They always think it's a man. I have this macho man mentality. I'm like, no, my grandmothers made me this way. They made me stronger. But they also taught me how to love. They taught me to be compassionate. They taught me how to be forgiving. They taught me, everything. My grandmothers, both of them. And, I kind of get choked up right now because my grandmothers taught me everything. And if it wasn't for my grandmothers, I'd have been lost.
Yeah.
For real. So, yeah.
And it's that love and compassion that they showed for you that I'm sure was able to kind of lift you out of some dark places that you were in. You talked about, the anger, right? And how, because of your father's passing and the short span of time that you had to spend with him, and feeling like, those 11 years prior, you didn't get an opportunity to develop a relationship with him because of the negative relationship that he and your mom had. Anger started to show up. What were some of the ways in which you started to act out? What were some of the ways in which the anger started showing up? And I want you to share that because, this book is really designed, like you said, for young men, right? Who have lived in poverty, who have, maybe had challenging parental relationships, right? Maybe grew up in a place where they didn't fully receive love or understand how to receive love. And so maybe they too have acted out and still haven't gotten to a place of healing. So share with the audience how anger began to show up for you, and then what pulled you out of that place of anger.
It showed up with its simple things. When I would go spend a weekend with my mom, because my grandmother insisted on it, go spend time with your mother. I know, what your relationships are like, but still that's still your mother. That's what my grandmother used to say. And I would go, and it seemed like the minute I would get there, I would walk into the house. Like if I get there on a Friday evening, I'm 14, 15, 16 years old. I get there. And as soon as I get there, it's like, go wash dishes. I'm like, what? I don't live here. I ain't dirty. I walked in the house. You want me to wash y'all dishes? And it's like she was just, to me, I felt like you just picking at me.
Yeah.
My other two siblings that live here, they here. They so bad. But I would cut up. I would just start talking crazy. No, I'm out. Bye. Just start throwing and acting a fool. Just really like you can't, and talking crazy to her. And would call my grandmother, come get me right now. I can't stay here. No. And my grandmother would come. I would literally, I would want to fight everybody in there. And my sister used to say things to me. I would go off on my sister, my older sister. Brother used to say something where he didn't really say anything, but if he just looked wrong, I was mad at him. Like, what you looking at? And I was angry. I was just angry. And I'm like, the things that, I'm like, I was just angry. And my grandmother would come get me, and because I never bothered anyone when I was a kid. I was to myself. I would come there and go sit by myself and just leave, wouldn't even talk to people. And it seemed like, I don't even talk to anybody, but you're going to come over here and mess with me? Even bothering you? I had that conversation with my mom a couple of weeks ago. I said, do you know I've never, and my mom agreed. She said, I never used to, I said, all my life, I've always been a person. I never bothered anybody. I'm like that to this day. I'll be in my own world. Don't bother me. Because if you bother me, it's going to somebody else. But I don't bother you. I don't initiate anything. But the minute they initiate stuff and bother me, it's like you picking on me for no reason. And the minute you do that, then when I act a fool, all in everybody, oh, this son of mine, he crazy. Well, don't. And so it got to the point where I told my grandmother, I want to go over there.
Yeah.
Because I don't bother them. And the minute when I defend myself or whatever, now I'm the bad one. And so I want to go back. And I didn't go back for I didn't go even see my mother for a while. You know?
Did you feel like at the time, especially, whenever your grandmother would drop you off and your mom would instantly go into what you felt like was almost attack mode, did you feel like at that point that she was, let me see how to say, like almost treating you as if you were your father? So
Yeah,
directing her frustrations and her anger out on your father, but through you.
definitely. I
Okay.
always felt that. I felt that, and I to this day, I will confirm that it's exactly what it was.
Mm,
And but it took so let me it took to get out of that. It took my paternal grandmother, my father's mother,
mhm, mhm.
understanding,
Okay.
knowing what was going on.
Mm,
She was a psychiatric nurse, so she dealt with psychiatric people, but she also has sons.
okay.
And she dealt with my mother before when my dad, my mother was 18, my dad was uh, 16
Okay.
when I conceived.
Okay.
And when I was born, he was 17, my mother was 19.
Okay.
And so she dealt with my mom at that particular time. And my mom being young, and that's what it was. I understand
Mhm,
what it was now. I understand how
mhm,
she
mhm.
being young and dealing with things, having kids like that. Um,
Yeah.
my grandmother started to tell me, Terry, just stay away.
Mhm.
Um, you understand what's going on, and she would talk to me. And she never told me to miss. She always say, "Don't mistreat your mother, no matter what." But sometimes just stay away. It's
Right.
okay. Uh, you got to learn how to deal with that. So it's things that my paternal grandmother put in me and would
Yeah.
talk to me.
Mhm,
And not only that, she showed me. Uh, I was just telling you, I just had a conversation just the other day with my mom
mhm.
and saying things to her. We talk like this all the time, and she receives what I say because
Good.
I don't go to her angry. I go to her calm, and we can talk about it now.
Mhm.
And I had to say something to her just last Sunday. And I said, do you know if anybody calls Geraldine, which is my paternal grandmother,
Mhm.
if somebody calls her and asks her or says anything about me, they probably
Mm.
gonna get cursed out. You're not gonna give them any information. You
Mhm.
can't call my own mother can't call my grandmother and say, if I change my number, my mom called me and say, do you know Terry? She'll let me call him. She's not gonna give it to me.
Wow.
And I mean, she's that protective of me.
Protective. Yeah.
But she understands. She understands my privacy and how I am, who I am. I'm
Mhm.
very private. My grandmother tell me sometimes, Terry, you need to let me know or let somebody know where
Mm.
you're going. You're always up and gone, be all
Yeah.
over the country, over the world, and
Mhm.
nobody even know. I look on
Mm.
Facebook and see you, and and I like grandmother, but she knows I'm like that. But if
Yeah.
anybody like, she had a situation where my daughter's mother
Mhm.
tried to call her a long time ago and start saying stuff. She's like, no, you can't do that. Man, tell me what's going on and we can
Yeah.
resolve the issue, but you're not about to call me. And
Mhm.
she don't play that. And
Yeah.
and so, but she's not biased. She
Yeah.
will correct me. She
Mhm.
will tell me what's right. And my grandmother is what I call, I mean, it's my paternal grandmother is the way she is. She's not messy. She don't believe in
Mhm.
mess. But she's like that. She comes from a mixed family. Her father was white, mother black,
Okay.
from Louisiana.
Mm.
Her father didn't acknowledge her as a kid, so she dealt with stuff, and so she
Mhm.
knows how to things like what I go through. It's like
Yeah.
it's nothing.
Right.
I saw her lose a son. My dad
Mm.
was 31 when he died.
Mm.
She lost a son in the same year. She lost her mother. That same year, she lost my grandfather's mother.
Wow.
I had my dad died in 1986. My dad died, and three of my great grandmothers died in 1986. And my grandmother stayed strong through all of that.
My
I've
God.
never seen. She really didn't cry, but she was torn up on the inside. She had.
Mm.
I've seen my grandmother, and so she's just a certain type of person that
Mm-hmm.
knows how to deal with me. And so she, along with, I'm gonna say, my son being born,
Mm-hmm.
my son, first my daughter, but really my son, when he was born, I said, man, and the love my son has for me, I write about it in my book.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time I experienced and felt unconditional love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my son gives me a love like I've never felt. And that taught me what real, true, unconditional love. It taught
Mm.
me how to recognize it with my
Yeah.
grandmother. It
Yes.
taught me how to recognize it with who, and when somebody doesn't give me that, I know it
Mm-hmm.
right out. Like, your love
Right.
ain't conditions.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that. You got
Mm-hmm.
conditions on your love. You bye. You know,
Mm.
I now know what unconditional love. So that right there made me, even more so than I already was, start communicating with my mother, start
Yeah.
talking to my mother, because of what my son, not
Mm-hmm.
even knowing,
Yeah.
showed.
And one of the things you said earlier, kind of at the start of the show too, when it came to your mother, you had to get to a place of forgiveness,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
so I saw a question that came up on the screen from Annette. It said, were you able to identify the root of your anger at that time? And I think even through, just us talking about it, you recognize that the anger that you developed was because of what was going on with your mom, but
Mhm.
also because your mom was essentially taking out things on you because of the poor relationship she had with your father. But then
Mhm.
she also follows up and says, I love that grandmother grandson relationship you had with your grandmothers. And as a grandmother, I can definitely relate. It's so beautiful. And yeah, I love that comment. And just hearing from a man, because I have another gentleman that I had interviewed on the show, Sheldon Thorogood, and he experienced that same type of relationship. He grew up with his grandmothers as well, and just the love that he experienced from his grandmothers. And he's out there in Texas too. It must be something about Texas and Texas grandmothers and loving their grandsons.
I have one grandmother she's from Texas. She's a country girl, Huntsville, Texas. That's where my mother's mom is from. And my father's mother is from Ville Platte, Louisiana.
Bill Platt.
And
Okay.
Ville Platte, Louisiana. And but they live in Texas now. And both of them country women.
Mhm.
Both of them master degrees, intelligent, smart. There's nobody wiser to me than my grandmother. Nobody.
Amen.
I mean, it gets to the point I used to think I can get over. I always thought I can get over or tell her anything. She don't know what she talking about. She don't know, or think I knew something she didn't know. And it wasn't until my 40s I started realizing, what am I doing? This lady know. She know what I'm about to do before I do it. If I
Yes.
tell her something, she know I'm lying. She
Yes.
know I'm, she knows. She just sees Terry don't come. The other day, 2 weeks ago, I called her. We were talking about something, and she was talking to me like she does. Um, um, she continues talking to me, uh, and no matter how old I get, no matter what I may have, she's gonna stay on me. And so we were talking, and she was on me about something, and I said something. I said, "Well, grandmother, something." I said to her, and she said, "Terry, what you gonna do when I'm gone?"
Mm.
I told her, I said, "Go right with you."
Oh Lord. Like you be putting your foot in the grave with her.
She was serious when she was saying that, because I know how to deal with her now. I didn't. But now
Oh.
it's like, she said, "What you gonna do when I'm gone?" I said, "Go right with you." And she
Oh.
said, she just started laughing. It broke that seriousness. She just laughed. I'm like, oh my God. So
Oh
now
my gosh.
she said, and I know she in her mind say, "This boy, he done figured me out."
Yes, exactly.
Because I
Exactly.
don't argue with her no more. I used to argue with her back and forth. Well, actually, I was arguing. She wasn't arguing. She just
Yeah.
looked at me like I'm crazy.
Mhm.
Like,
Exactly.
when I get through, she said, "Are you done? Calm. Are you finished?" I could come in there so mad sometimes. All my life. Because I always talk to her. I told somebody, if it's one person that knows every single thing about me, or the most about me, is her. You
Yeah.
don't tell me you don't know me. Most people, my mom,
Mhm.
my cousins, my sister, I'm like, y'all don't know me. Y'all knew me as a child. Y'all know of me. The
Yeah.
only person that knows me is my grandmother.
Hmm.
And so, so I can talk to her and she knows me because I tell her everything.
Yeah.
I go to her for advice. There's only pretty much one person I go to for advice. If it
Hmm.
ain't God, I go to my grandmother.
Yes.
So other than that, because I don't trust nobody else. You're not gonna give me what she gonna give me.
Yes.
And
And you know what? Just kind of hearing you talk about your grandmothers and just, how you grew up,
yeah,
it shaped you, it helped you develop your character, right?
hmm
Which is something that you talk about in the book as well, is how to develop character. And I love this particular chapter, right?
hmm
Because you really do hone in on, what was it, 11 characteristics
yeah,
of developing character.
yeah,
And as I was going through them, I'm like, wow, this is really profound. And, again, even though you wrote the book kind of for that young man, this can relate to anyone, right?
yes,
Anyone. And so I want us to kind of talk about a few of those characteristics. But again, for those of you who are watching live, for those of you who are watching on the replay, I'm here with Terrance Bell, who's the author of Flawed but Unbroken, the regenerate soul of a man. And we're definitely going to talk about, what does that mean, the regenerate soul of a man. But so far, Terrance has kind of talked to us about his upbringing and, how he was raised by his grandparents, and that love, that compassion that he was able to receive, and, that filled his spirit as he was growing up with his grandparents, and how he was able to now transition that same love even over to his children. But he walked through so many different challenges in his life, from poverty to not growing up with his father, to then having a very short-lived relationship with his father, less than a year before his father passed away. And all of those things, of course, would shape who you become, as you grow up. But one of the things that all of these situations did for you is it helped you develop your character. And so in the book, you talk about 11 characteristics as someone is growing and developing their character. And I wanted to kind of touch on a few of them. You mentioned accountability.
hmm
You mentioned honesty, courage, empathy, and wisdom.
hmm
Now, all of those characteristics, along with the other, would be six that you identify in the book,
hmm
all of those are necessary kind of in tandem to help someone become truly who they were created to be. But when you think about the 11 that you identify, or even the 5 that I shared, which, maybe one or two, do you feel like a person has to kind of come into first in order to begin to shape their character?
I would say to me, and what I excuse me, everything that I've dealt with in my life, developing your character, um, embracing who you are, meaning accepting who you are. A lot of times in life, we don't, and I'm gonna tell you what this is gonna lead to. When we are most of the time, and I'm gonna speak for myself. I
Mhm.
don't talk about other people. I can just speak for myself.
Mhm.
I don't like to beat up other people as if I ain't never done anything wrong when I'm
Right.
so wrong. Um, Accountability is everything. When I start being accountable
Mhm.
for my actions,
Mhm.
uh, because I used to not be. I used to blame everybody and everybody else, everything
Mhm.
else. I used to blame my mom. I don't have my dad. I used to blame everybody for everything.
Yeah.
Even when I was a grown man, I still did that in my 30s. I
Mhm.
still did it. I would say, I will blame people. It wasn't them, it was me.
Mhm.
And so when you are accountable,
Mhm.
what that does is build integrity.
Mhm.
Accountability builds integrity. It starts the foundation to integrity.
Mhm.
You can't have integrity without accountability.
Amen.
And so uh, I live by this. I I strongly believe in this. Uh, whether it's a relationship with my family,
Mhm.
whether it's a romantic relationship,
Mhm.
if I'm dating someone,
Mhm.
the number one need for me, and I think it's for most men or all men.
Mhm.
I think it's for all men. The number one need for a man is honor.
Mm.
We don't
Mhm.
care about a lot of stuff. We
Mhm.
don't, especially when you become older and you know who you are.
Mhm.
The number one need, we want to be honored. And I define honor as respect and praise. And I have to,
Mhm.
it's sad that I even have to, to give,
Define it.
define what
Mhm.
praise, the praise part of honor.
Mhm.
Because you hear when people say, do you want to be praised? No, what it
Mm.
means is you're thankful, you're
Yeah.
appreciative, you
Yes.
are, you're gratitude. You know,
Mhm.
if you show me that, if you give me, because I'm giving it, I'm going
Yes.
to give you that honor. I'm going to be thankful. I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to
Mhm.
be appreciative. I still believe in chivalry, opening the door.
Mhm.
My grandmother go to the door and stand there. If you don't open it,
Amen.
what's going on? And so if I see a young lady stand at a door waiting on you to open it, I smile. I'm like, that's my
Mm.
grandmother, and I love it.
Yes.
Because I've been on a date before, and I had a young lady to wait, say, "Oh, wait," and she got mad. Like, I don't need you to open my door. That was the last time I've been on a date with her.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And so that's when the honor, the integrity thing, being accountable develops integrity. But the
Mhm.
number one need I need, and the number one thing to me is honor, followed by number two, peace,
Mhm.
by happiness.
Yeah.
I love to have fun. I love to have fun. It's just like right now, I'm getting ready. I'm typically have people over here,
Mhm.
friends, it's because it's Sunday or something, getting ready for my Niners to come on. That's why you see me in my Niner gear. I got my Niner cup.
And wait, I'm gonna say this because Terrance told us from the beginning, we got to be done in
Yeah,
1 hour because
all
the
my
Niners.
friends, all my friends. Look, no, nobody come before. Look, I'll put my son out here for the Niners. It just so happened he's a Niner fan too.
Oh my
If,
gosh.
if he was here right now, you'll see him be running back and forth in here cutting up. But yeah, I love to have fun. I love to cook. I love to entertain I just had a huge party for my 18-year-old daughter here at the house. It was so much fun. I don't believe in people coming over being messy. Let's come over here and have. I hate. Let me tell you one thing I hate. We can go on, but I hate we're coming up on this holiday, and my
Mhm.
family wants to have Thanksgiving here at the house.
Mhm.
I hate Black Friday
Mm.
because on Thursday your family is leaving early to go get in lines, and
Yes.
I'm telling them if this year if you come to my house,
Mm.
you can't come to my house and you're gonna rush off because
And
I
leave.
want to sit down and have family time. I want to
Mhm.
be loving. I want to have fun. Let's play games. Let's do it all day and all night long. Don't tell me nothing about you got to go get in the line. If you're going to do that, go have Thanksgiving dinner somewhere else. Don't come to my house and eat my food because they eat my
Yeah.
food because I'm the best cook on this planet.
Oh boy.
Come here and they eat my food. And then when I have family members call and say, "Can you send me a plate?" Nope, I'm not sending
No,
you a plate. You ain't here, you ain't getting a plate. I'm
that's right.
telling you, I'm not doing it this year. So if my family and my families listen, somebody just posted something about the Seahawks.
Oh,
Y'all got to be y'all got to be
Monica and Tamila, Tammy says, "Go Dolphins."
these people are losing their minds. They must don't know. Look, are you kidding me?
we
Okay,
we about to have some
we
football
leave that
competition
we leave
on the
that
Story
alone.
Time with Stephanie with Terrance Bell. Annette, okay, thank you, Annette, for bringing it back. Annette says, "You're so
Yeah,
right. I think we can misunderstand a man's need for honor as a need to be praised. I remember doing that once. Okay, and that's going back to the comment you made about the
yeah.
man's number one need,
It's
is
honor.
honor, and
We don't
peace
we,
is
we
second.
don't care about we don't listen. We
Yeah.
don't care. And I told somebody this. I told I tell women if I'm dating or you trying to or we whatever,
Mhm.
man, I don't care about no love. Because how can I love you?
Yes.
How can you love me if you can't honor
Ooh,
me?
my God.
How can you love me if there's no peace?
Mm.
If there's no happiness? How can you love chaos?
Mhm.
I
Mm.
don't want it. I want honor in that order: honor, peace, happiness, and give me some love after that. I don't want to talk about you love me and you don't want to respect me.
Yes,
Don't
I
talk
see the
about you
clapping
love me.
emojis.
Don't talk about you love me and you always fussing and carrying on. You don't love me.
Yes.
You know I'm not about it. So I don't even want no part of it. So I that's just me. And I've had people, I don't, you know, I don't know. You start talking about what's your love language? Honor,
Right.
peace.
And honor and
Yeah.
peace
And
in
that's
that
it.
order.
I'm not gonna argue about it. I don't even know why I have had women to argue with me about that because that's who I ain't gonna argue with you. I'm not
My
gonna argue
God.
with you. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna waste my time arguing with you
Yeah.
about the foundation of who I am.
Yes, and what
That's
you
who I am.
need and desire.
That's me.
Absolutely.
I will say this just I this is what I need. This is what I
Yes.
want. What you want is what you want, and I'll give you that.
Yes.
I'll give you that. And I respect what you want. It can be different, but you're gonna respect what I want too. If you can,
Absolutely.
if I can, what is that? I don't want the double standards. If I give you what you want, and that's friendships, any kind of friendship.
Mhm.
If I respect what you desire, you gotta respect what I desire.
Yes.
And that's just it. That's honor right there. That's
Amen.
honor right there. And so yeah.
Hey, look, Terrance, I may have to have you back. I actually have another show called Kingdom Love, and so we may have to have you come and be a guest on Kingdom Love
You're
because
gonna have me on that. I don't know if I'm gonna act right. Because
we're going into the whole topic of what it looks like to date
yeah,
and
this
to be
world is
married from
different.
a
This
kingdom
society is
perspective.
different. I'm old school. I told you I was raised by my great
I
grandfather during
know.
the 1800s. I'm
I
different.
know. But see, and that's the thing. You were able to live a life that was built on a different foundation from what people are accustomed to
Mm-hmm.
today. And so I am grateful that you share these nuggets, right? Because it
Yes,
is
ma'am.
for the young men, the young women, and the older men and women as well that we need to understand, what is our foundation? What
Yeah.
is our foundation? And even thinking about your foundation of faith, right? Because you are heavy into your faith. You
Mm-hmm.
rely on your faith. Faith comes first. And so, what was that pivotal moment in your life where faith kind of replaced some of the fear and the challenges that you had experienced, and you recognize that a life lived for God is the life that you wanted to have?
Mm. This is going to probably, I don't know if it's going to surprise you or not, but mm, this is something that I've been in church. I was raised in church.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I ran away from my mother's home when I was a kid, probably like 9 years old, eight or 9 years old. I ran away from home.
Mm-hmm.
When I ran away, I went to church. I hid inside the church building
Mm-hmm.
and uh, literally spent the night in the church. When I ran away from home, I went to church, got in the church, and hid in the balcony of the church building and slept there. And so I was raised in the church. Everything is church to me. I've been in church. I was music director of of my youth and young adult choir. I
Mm-hmm.
became a minister of music of a church, of another church, when I was 18 years old. Uh, I left there around the age 22 and became a minister of music of another church. I was minister of music of three different churches in Houston, and until I decided to leave the church full time as a employee of the
Mm-hmm.
church because my schedule was just too busy and I wanted more. I was like all my life from kid to 30 something was church. I didn't get to do anything when I was in college. And when my friends used to make fun of me and used to get mad at me because, I wanted to go to I would be at the Bayou Classic in New Orleans. And in the 90s, they got this new thing with Freaknik now. I was at Freaknik in 1994. I was at Freaknik. You hear me?
I was too.
I was there. The Brat on stage, Too Short. Listen, I was there.
I was there. I might have been right next to you.
I tell people, look, I didn't miss a party in college. But then I had to rush back to church on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? The true story. God forgive me. God has forgiven me. I repented for it, God.
Yes.
But
Thank you, Lord.
Classic one morning, Bayou Classic at 5 a.m. in the morning. Told my boys, let's go. They're like, man, you always got to go back there. We were there. Let's go. I got to be at church. 10 o'clock, I walked in there, put on my robe. My choir was waiting on me. One of my choir members said, boy, you smell just like you just got off of alcohol. I'm like, I'm coming in here. Now sing, mind your business. I'm gonna get out of here. I don't want to talk to nobody. Let's go.
Oh, Terrance. Thank God for repentance.
I was in college. I mean, what kind of pressure you want to put on the college? I didn't want to miss the parties. I didn't want to miss the good times. I had a good time in college. You hear me?
That's good. Yes.
Great time.
I did too.
So, I would say, so I was raised in the church, and it got to the point I'm like this. But as strong as my faith has always been, I've even questioned God. I used to think it was wrong to question God. I no longer feel that. I mean, we got to have questions. I think that's what hurt me more when I was younger. The fact that I was taught you don't question God, but no.
Yeah.
You got to ask questions.
Absolutely.
To understand and for him to give you those answers. And so now I ask God questions when I'm confused about something. I ask him, I go to him in prayer and sincere. It has to be sincere.
Yes.
And one thing I do is I ask God sincere questions, and because it's from the heart. Because I want to be better. I don't ask him questions just to be nosy. I ask him questions because I want to be better. And so it wasn't until I've always had a strong foundation, strong faith, strong belief. There's been times I questioned him and I doubted things, I've doubted and I'm like, God, what's going on, man? Why are you doing this? Or what, I've turned my back. I've strayed away. I'm like, I'm not going to church. I tell people some of the most corrupt business goes on in church. I've dealt with it all. I've dealt with it like, jealousy in the church, envy in the church. And I'm from this, I'm unbroken, but I'm flawed.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't just approach me because I was raised in the hood,
Yeah.
So you come in just because you think I'm a minister of music and you thinking because they get it twisted. They think everybody's soft. I'm not that soft.
Yeah.
You're gonna catch me and you're gonna catch something. They're
gonna catch those hands. They're gonna catch those hands, Terrance.
The minister that caught hands one time. And I had to leave that church. I told the pastor, I told you, and the pastor was like, Terrance. I remember pastor, I'm not gonna say his name. He gonna know who he is. He gonna say, he said, Terrance, man, I said, man, I can't stay here, man, because these memberships out of control. The dudes out of control. They jealous, they envy, they lying on me. I can't deal with it. I said, and I had the man in the chokehold on the floor in the church. It wasn't during church. It was on a day when church wasn't going on.
But it was in the church.
It was in the church. It was in the church. Pastor told me, he said, Terrance, if you can do it all over again, would you do anything different? I said, no. I said, matter of fact, the only thing I would do different is tell you, you need to let me go so I can finish what I'm doing. Pastor said, well, why didn't you just whisper and tell me? I'd let you go on him a little bit longer.
Oh my God.
Hey, true story. But that's what I love being that pastor. Everybody I've ever worked, I've only had one pastor that, he was a liar. and I'm just
Mm.
telling it like it is. But most every pastor I've worked for, I've worked with, I mean, we get along great because I keep it real. I'm honest, and they know no matter what, my faith is strong. And I ain't gonna lie
Amen.
to you. I'm not gonna play them games with you. Come at me real. Don't that's who I am.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so the question was, you know, uh, and I would have to say, I my faith was, I dated someone here recently. I was in a
Mhm.
relationship, and she is of a different culture. She's not from the United States. She's from
Mhm.
another country,
Another place. Mhm.
another place, and her faith wasn't strong. And whenever I would say something about God, and she would like, I don't, that's not, I don't like this, and oh, I grew up like this, and and it was like, so I got to the point where I never try to force my beliefs on anyone. I've always been like that. I don't force my belief, force it on
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
But I stopped talking about it. I never, she never went to church. Only time she went to church with me was to a funeral.
Mm.
I never took her to church, and I never talked about like who I am when it comes to my faith. I never discussed it because I felt like it would turn her off. And
Mm.
I got away from who I am.
Yeah.
And then I realized, that was the foundation. God, my faith is the foundation of who I am.
Yes.
So I was a different man.
Yeah.
And I was unhappy trying to appease someone else.
Right.
I was miserable. And then,
Mhm.
so at that moment, I realized, I'm like, when I start going through so many different things with her, I'm like, and I'm like, man, the problem was I can't blame her. I can't blame it. I lost my faith.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would never do it again. I would never do that again. It taught me, you know, I'm here because of God. I'm here. I've been to hell and fought the devil a few times
Mm.
because I had God.
Yeah.
And it's like, because of my faith, because of, that's my strength.
Mhm.
That's my it's my, I talk about other things being my passion, such as my music, being able
Mhm.
to write music, being able to play an instrument, or being able to sing. My passion is God, not the music. My passion
Mm.
is my faith.
Yes.
Because of my passion in God and my faith, I'm able to do those things. And I do those things with a full heart,
Mm.
and I'm able to do that. If when I lack or slack on that, I hurt, I
Mm.
fall, I make mistakes. But when I'm strong in that, and this is my life. This is, I don't make these up. I can't. But when I'm strong in that, I persevere. I'm strong. I achieve things. I reach goals. I do a lot of things because of my faith and my strength. And so, and this just happened within the last 3 years of my life.
Wow. And I think it's it's a blessing that you recognize where that comes from,
Mhm.
right? Because so often people think that it's because of their own might. It's because of their own works. It's because of, the
Mhm.
things that they were able to accomplish, but you know that all of what you've experienced and where you are today is all because of God's grace. Right. I
Yes.
was literally on a prayer call about this before story time. We were talking about God's grace and
Mhm.
how it's not about our works. It's not about how we perform. It is truly by his grace that we get to live, move, and have our being. And that is what, your life has represented, a life well lived, a life full of faith, a life where you have been able to develop a character that is pleasing to God.
Yes.
And one of the things, and we're coming up on that golden hour, and I want to be respectful of your 49ers time. What I want you to do is just briefly share for us, what does the regenerate soul of a man mean to you?
we've talked about it this entire time. What I've been through,
Yeah.
um, flawed but unbroken.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with that subtitle with my publicist. We were actually on the phone. There's a lot of things me and my publicist share,
Mm-hmm.
and we've become more friends than a business relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's a good person, and so the title, the Regenerate Soul, it's I've flawed but unbroken is speaks for itself. I'm
Yeah.
flawed, but I'm unbroken. I've been
Mm-hmm.
through things, I've done things, I've been through, like I just said, I've fought the devil and survived,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still here. I'm not broken. You can't break me. You can't break my spirit. And but the regenerate soul means I'm now renewed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now full of a feeling
Yeah.
that I won't let go. It's a good feeling. It's because of what you just said, it God's grace.
Yeah.
I'm renewed. I feel reinvented. I
Yeah.
feel revigorated. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I am. It's like being baptized again.
Mm.
A true baptism. Baptism is not when you, to me, not when you're dunked in the water
Mm.
and you're doing that when you're a kid, because I was baptized as a kid. But
Mm-hmm.
baptism is, to me, when you are renewed, you're
Amen.
rejuvenated, you're now full of what you know you should be. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
I'm gonna make mistakes. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna, do some things that I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? God, please
Mm.
help me and forgive me. But what I can say to you now is I don't care about what no man thinks. I don't care about what a woman thinks. I don't care
Amen.
what people think. If only person I'll, if I do you wrong,
Mm.
I'll apologize to you
Mm-hmm.
sincerely.
Mm-hmm.
Something wrong, or I've hurt you, I've said something wrong, I am accountable for that, and I will apologize sincerely. But once I do that, I apologize to God and I ask God for his forgiveness. If
Yeah.
God forgives me, I can't be concerned about it if you don't, because I was sincere.
Amen.
I'm gonna let it eat me up. I don't
Mm.
want you to be that way. I don't want you to be angry with me anymore, but I can't sit there and beat myself up
Yeah.
because of what I may have said, whatever. I'm just giving an example
Yes.
because I go to God and say, God, forgive me. I repent, God. Please forgive me. Did it last night, and by just something I said to somebody, something I did. And I said, God, forgive me. Please, God, strengthen me where I'm weak,
Mm-hmm.
stronger in those areas. And when I do that, I don't. That's the regenerate soul,
Mm.
and my soul is regenerated.
Yeah.
My entire being, everything. It's like, so that's what that means to regenerate. Because I was when I strayed away, or I didn't give God the glory, or acknowledge God, or I did certain things. I just it's like I don't know. I don't know where I was. I was lost.
Mm.
So now, I'm like, man, thank God, you know, for my background, my childhood. It goes back
Yeah.
to the first conversation we had, to my childhood. I'm now that child again,
Mm.
but I understand the life I have.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful, Terrance. And I thank you for summing up just everything that we were able to talk about as it relates to your life, as it relates to your book, Flawed but Unbroken, the regenerate soul of a man, and how God truly used your life experiences to make you brand new, to make you whole, to bring you to a place of healing. And I value that you were able to spend this time with us tonight on Storytime with Stephanie. I think this is a great place to end, but I would love for you to share with those that are going to be viewing the replay, those listening live, those who will listen on the um, the podcast through
Mhm.
audio means. just share with us a little bit about how people can find you. Are you on social media? We are running your handles along the screen. So just
Mhm.
share with us how people can find you, and then
Well,
also share what you have upcoming.
you can find me on my website, terrancebell.com, TerranceBell.com. And typically you can go to my different social media pages on there. You can, one of my companies, the new company, the veterinarian animal clinic, is called GeoVet Animal Care, GeoVet animalcare.com. You can go to that page. My social medias are Terrance Bell's Life, Bell with an S, Life. That's my Instagram page. My Facebook page is just Terrance Bell. You can go to my artist page. They have Terrance Bell, my page, my interactive page where I clown and cut up. I have Terrance Bell page 2 because I think I have too many friends on the first. You go to Terrance Bell page 2. Um, my what is it called? It's not Twitter anymore. It's
Or X.
X, and I don't really do it, but Terrance Bell on that. And I'm learning to be more active in social media because my publicist stayed on me. My friends stay on me. Man, you need to be more active, and I don't care about it. I work so much. I do so much. I'm either working, spending time with my son and daughter, or working out, or I'm watching football. Like I'm about to watch these Niners, and
Yes.
so and
Well,
so those are the pages you can find me on. I am what I have coming up. The holiday season is coming. I'm actually trying to plan something where I'm going to produce it, and
mhm.
that's I want to do something. I have to get them in, and I've talked to them about it. One of my two good friends of mine that are awesome gospel singers and recording artists. One is Nikita Clegg Fox, and one is Charisma Evans. Both of them have been features on projects of mine,
Mhm.
and I want to do a holiday, some type of holiday thing where they're performing, where they're singing. They're going to be singing, and
Excellent.
I may do a couple of songs, but I'm producing. I want to produce, and so that's in the works.
Okay.
And then I have some things where I'm going to be doing with my mobile veterinarian clinic. I want to do, I'm going to do some Thanksgiving feed the homeless and kids through my mobile veterinarian clinic,
Okay.
and where I'm going to take the veterinarian mobile unit out and go to areas with Thanksgiving plates and do that particular type of things. Those are the things I have. Other than that, I'm spending time with my family. I'll be in for Christmas. I will be in one of my favorite spots, um, in Lake Tahoe,
Okay.
celebrating Christmas, and that's it. New Year's. I don't know what I'm doing for.
You you said that's it. Well, you have a lot going on, Terrance, and um, people can find you all over the place doing all the things that you do. But one of the things that I would encourage you all to do is go to terrancebell.com, because that's where you can get more information about Broken, but on Flawed, but Unbroken. You
Yes.
can purchase the book. You can also find out more about his music. Yes, thank you. Plug.
Yeah.
You can find out more about his music because he is a gospel recording artist. So you can hear his amazing voice that God has blessed him with. And all of the things, Terrance, if you follow him on social media, you'll get to learn more about him as a family man. He does share, time with his son and time with his daughter. And it's just a blessing to see, a man with integrity to be able to put his life on display for people to see. And so I do pray that for those who have listened live, for those who listen on the replay, again, if you listen through the Writer's Anointing podcast, that you'll share this out for others to hear. Share it with your young sons as well, to help them understand that regardless of their circumstances, they can rise out of it, right? They can grow into the young men that God has called them to be, and they can live a life that leads to a legacy, because legacy is important. And
Yes.
so I want to thank you, Terrance, for being a part of Storytime with
Thank
Stephanie,
you. Thank you
sharing your
so much.
story,
Yes.
giving us the extra few minutes, cutting into your game time. I appreciate it.
Look at it's not the start. You see that?
Look at that. He had it on in the background, y'all. So he wasn't going to miss a thing.
It's about to start. It's about to start.
Well, I
But
thank you. I thank you so much. And
I appreciate
we'll
you.
say farewell. Stay behind for a few minutes. So we want to connect with you, and then we'll let you go from there. But
Yes, ma'am.
thank you so much, Terrance, for being here on Storytime with Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. So you have witnessed Storytime with Stephanie, with Terrance Bell, the author of Flawed but Unbroken. And I just want to thank you all for being with us tonight. And one of the things that really stood out for me that Terrance shared was accountability builds integrity. So I want to leave you all with that, that you can start to think about that, process that, and see how that reflects in your own life. Accountability builds integrity. So thank you for joining Storytime with Stephanie. We will see you again real soon. Good night.